there we go.
Yeah, I do get it. Obviously, we're not blind to the bad bits about Luton, but I love it.
Yeah, man, it's a great place.
Yeah,
it's a great place. That's the thing. I'm an advocate as well, man. Yeah, I'm gonna sit down here.
yeah, no worries, man.
There we go. I actually just fell over that. The coordination in this suit isn't great, bro. It's not great, seriously, because it's like I can see like here and here and here. Yeah, everything else is gone.
Very limited. Fair play to you for doing it.
I shouldn't probably announce that. Do you know what I mean? People are going to know my weaknesses. But yeah, anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to Luton's Deadpool podcast with me, Luton's Deadpool, and my special guest today, Jermaine Hall. How you doing, Jermaine?
I'm good, man.
Good
Thanks
to see
for
you,
having
bro.
me.
Thank you for having me. This is a great place. Like, I love coming to Barton Rovers. I've come here to watch Luton ladies play recently, which has been really good. I'm glad you guys took them in, and you know, it's a good relationship that you're forming there. Sorry, I'm just trying to do my glove. Do you know what? Forget about it. Oh, who cares? But yeah, no, not only that, but you host so many charity events as well as other events. But there's a hell of a lot of charity that goes on at Barton Rovers, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm not obviously part of the club as such. Like Directional is a separate thing to Barton Rovers, but they helped us massively with the club. And then recently, November last year, I took over as first team manager. So
congratulations.
Thank you. That's integrated me more with the club, which I know the volunteers and stuff here anyway, but the things they do for the community of Barton, you know, from the far reaching like your Lutons and stuff, they do so much work, which is why I wanted to give back a little bit by helping out with the first team. But yeah, they're good people. They're good people. Like I said, they're all volunteers. You see all the guys around there, you know, picking up litter after events, cutting the pitch, sorting that out, doing the bar. They just refurbished in there. So yeah, really good stuff that goes on here.
Yeah, it's a great place. You know, and even though it's not in Luton, doesn't have a Luton postcode or anything, feels kind of it feels close to home. Do you know what I mean? It's not too far away, and you know, it's actually like physically not that far away as well. I've come to Barton like loads of my life. I think that there's a way of living out here that we could adopt as well, because people live here. There's a lot of good people here, as well. That's where I think the charity kind of vibe can seep into a club like this. But
yeah, it's a nice village. Like we run camps here, so we see young people from, you know, young all the way through with their parents coming here, and it's a real good community feel about it.
Yeah.
All big events, loads of people come out all the way through the summer, and then you got like the fireworks night and stuff in November, which is really good. So yeah, everyone seems to club together and pull in the same direction, which is good.
Yeah, well, talking about Directional CIC, that's you obviously you created that. So can you tell like people a little bit about what it is? Because it's actually the reason why I wanted to start doing, like, you know, there's lots of things that were like dominoes along the way, but the big one that really set them all off was me seeing you on Facebook and stuff with what you was doing with Direction. So yeah, please.
That's good to hear. Actually, it's really. And I remember the first time I saw you here, you said that, and it's like things like that really do like touch me in a good way. So no, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, Directional. We work with young people from 4 years old up to 18, and we do various things. So during the school holidays, we run holiday camps for like the younger ones, 4 till 12, 4 to 13. The main part of the company is we've got 2 alternative learning provisions. So any young people that are struggling in school, in mainstream school, any that need respite, any that have been permanently excluded, they will come to us during the day. So we'll do like a 9:30 till 2:30 day. We've got a site here at Barton, and we've got another site in Leighton Buzzard. The one in Barton originally was for young people that could potentially be involved in gangs. So we've done a lot of projects around gang association and knife crime and youth violence. And that kind of spilled into opening a provision here. Opening a provision here at Barton, which is like on the outskirts of Luton. So any young people that are involved in gangs, or, you know, they've got problems with people from another area, they don't have to worry about bumping into them. As you see, it's really calm around here. It's a nice calming environment. So that was the idea. We don't really have any. We have 1 or 2 that are involved or on the verges of being involved in gangs, but we don't really have that anymore. I think since COVID, it's more young people struggling with their mental health.
Yeah.
Anxiety, going into big classrooms, and they can't manage their emotions when they're in school. So the levels of behaviours have changed over the last couple of years. But we work with year 7s to year 11s here, so Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. in our Leighton Buzzard site, we do Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3. So we start them a little bit younger. All of them are kind of emotional needs. How to regulate, how to act when they're feeling angry or sad or whatever it is. So the two sites are very different, but they're both, the work we do, we hope is impactful and, try to change lives, and that's what it's all about. The staff that I've got, the staff team that I have are unbelievable. They, we've all got strengths in different areas. All like to say we've got kind of lived experience in something. So not traditionally teachers that have gone through, the university route. Most are kind of mentors that have been on a little bit of a colourful journey, and then ended up wanting to give back and wanting to help young people. And I think young people really relate to that. And yeah, it works for us.
Yeah, it's honestly an inspirational thing that you've built there, because, like I say, when I was kind of, I got to a point where I just wasn't really very happy in my life. I didn't really like my job. Started to have like episodes of PTSD and quite traumatic sort of things happening when I was at work. So it kind of made me step away from work, and I didn't really know what to do with myself, because I wanted to help people. I didn't want to just work for someone anymore. I want to help people. That's what I want my life to be about. And that's when I came across you, and I had them sort of thoughts. And then I came across you on Facebook, and it was you that got me thinking, like, maybe I should help people just in my community. Before that, I was thinking like big, grand kind of scale. Like, I want to go around the world and solve everybody's problems. You know what I mean? And naturally, like, that's a big task to take on. And what I saw, what you was doing was, like, in such a big way, you was helping just our community. Do you know what I mean? And through that, you've grown and like developed and done so much more stuff. In them initial days, like when I was first seeing you guys, what you was doing, it really made me think about what I wanted to do to help out. And I think I wrote to you guys before. I wrote to you guys before to like say like I wanted to come like and help, but I didn't have the guts in me at the time to actually like send the message. But
I should have sent it, definitely. Like, I have so many people that reach out, and I think, like, again, through COVID, I think a lot of people that had their careers and they thought this is what's important, they started to realize that that's not what's important to them, and they want to help out and give back. And I get so many, I can't offer the opportunity for everyone to get involved, but there is always something someone can do. So many people say, like, how can I get involved? Like, now I've started the children's home as well, and people are like, how do we help with that? How do we give back? And people put their actions into words as well. So when we do things like collections for like the shoebox campaign, and then we're trying to get our young people, it's like you're helping two sets of communities, because we're helping our young people to understand gratefulness and understand that other people in the world are not as fortunate as you, even if you feel like you're really unfortunate, and some of them are in bad situations, but there's always people that are worse off. So we sent a load of shoeboxes out to Cambodia. We tried to get 20 shoeboxes, ended up getting 75.
Oh, wow.
And that's because the people in and around this community, Luton and Barton and Bedford and wherever else we work, they were willing to give and to do that little bit for other people, which I think everyone wants to do it. Like, everyone wants to help out, everyone wants, but it's just finding the time, in this kind of rat race we get caught up in. It's hard to kind of prioritize that sometimes. And I think I saw an interview with he'd done a speech, Denzel Washington, and he said the most selfish thing you can do is help somebody else. And it's like a double-edged sword. Like, it's not selfish helping someone else, but the way it makes you feel,
it makes you feel so good, right?
Is not selfish, but the way it makes you feel helping someone else is what really helps you to then go and do more for other people if you can.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, any time that I'm getting to go to like any event, or if I'm just raising my bucket in town, and I'm making kids happy and stuff, and now it's getting to a point where kids are like, oh, do you remember me? And when I when I say to them, yeah, I remember you, makes their day, man. Do you know what I mean? And like, giving them something like that, it makes me really happy, and it makes me want to do it more. Do you know what I mean? I want to help people more.
And it's so different to what you've done. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. So
that's one way of putting it.
Maybe a little, you see people at like maybe kids' birthday parties and that, and they'll do it as a job. But for you to like fully commit
it's
unbelievable. Like,
mate, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, when I first started doing it, I was like, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? What are you actually doing? You're just walking around in a suit, and what people think. And do you know what? I just got it out of my head, because every time, because like say there's days when I would have been raising my bucket and there was like not that many people around, right? And people were just kind of walking past, like, what the hell was going on? And for me, it's like, you know, it's funny, but then after a while, you're like, actually, what am I doing? And then a little kid sees you, and then they're like, oh my God, I can't, and they just blows their mind. And then they go away, and then their parent comes back like another time. Like I see like the same people, obviously, and they'll say they haven't stopped talking about you since. Like, and they want to know what you're doing, why you've got the bucket, and now they want to do that sort of stuff. And it's working, man. Yeah, it's working. This is what I want to do. I want to, like, I took it straight from you. Like you said about you want to be able to inspire other people to do. That's what you're actually trying to do, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. You know, I think that I've got similar kind of, like, I've had my past, you know, I've grown up in Luton, man, you know what it's like, obviously. And I think that I've got a good experience to be able to help people. So, you know, to not use that would be foolish. You know what I mean?
And not many people, like I say, with the priorities and the rat race, people don't make that a priority. So for you to do it and do as much as you do is like,
mate, it's nothing compared to you, seriously. And to anyone else, this isn't just like for me to big you up, because honestly, you deserve bigging up for what you're doing. You're incredible, man. But like, I really appreciate when people say the nice things to me, but I just really don't feel like I can take it, because it's cool what I'm doing. It's kind of fun for me as well. But then I'm not the one that's doing like 9 to 5 every day of what you're doing to help people. Do you know what I mean? You're putting in a lot more work. And the thing is, just because I'm a lot of different places, it doesn't mean I'm doing as much as people like yourself. And this is why, like, I'm doing the podcast, because like I'm trying to make sure that as it goes on and things, you know, develops and more people get to know who I am, that the podcast remains that I am here to show people you. Do you know what I mean? Like, not me. This is like the big neon sign. I'm the big neon sign that's pointing at you. Do you know what I mean?
No, again, you know, that's appreciated. I'm sure all the people you spoke to and you're shining a light on people, like, appreciate that as well. But you should never compare it to like, oh yeah, but you're doing it 9 to 5. It makes it even more commendable that you're doing it alongside something else, and you know, and you're doing it in your own time and doing random days and whatever, because you know, this is Directional is my life now. Like, Halls Homes is my life. So I don't see it as like, you know, doing any more than anyone else. This is just what I've decided to commit to, and luckily I've been able to bring in a team that, you know, can come and commit to this work and pay their bills at the same time. You know what I mean? And we can,
that must be lovely
make it as a job and do something we love.
So exactly.
That's important.
So let's go back to like how this all started, because obviously there's a big story behind like how everything starts that turns out to be successful. So what happened for you to get the idea? Like, where was you in your life? What was going on?
So going way back, I think, so I wanted to be a footballer when I was younger. I think I had the ability to get to a certain level. Obviously I played semi-professional for the last however many years, you know, 10, 15 years. But I think, did I have the potential to make an actual professional footballer? Maybe. Did I have the drive to make it as a professional footballer? I don't think so. I think when I was younger, I always said I wanted to be a footballer, like most other young boys did. But I think what I was really in me was to be an entrepreneur, like to run my own business. I think even when you speak to my cousins, my older cousins and stuff, they always said I was trying to do something when I was younger. Like, yes, I was watching football and playing football, but if I wasn't doing one of those two things, it was like money-making ideas and little, you know, as a kid when you're trying to sell sweets to your cousin, trying to do that. So I always had those little tendencies. But then, so when football was kind of over, you get caught up in, you know, we spoke about Luton already, and you get caught up in certain areas. I grew up in Lucy Farm, so you know, you can imagine the type of things that can attract young boys in Lucy Farm. And I kind of got sidetracked from the dream of football. And like I said, I don't think it was really in me to kind of pursue that. Like, I was a little bit lazy in training. Certain games, maybe wasn't really interested in games, and the ones that make it as professional footballers are not the ones that there every time,
Yeah.
100%. And I don't think, if I look back honestly, that I was like that. But got distracted, went to America for 2 years for football on a football scholarship, ended up coming back, and just the whole football dream kind of died. And it was then all about what other people, what my friends were doing in Lucy Farm at that time. You know, 20, 21 years old, 22, just going out all the time,
Yeah.
just not really thinking about the bigger picture, just doing silly things. Got into some trouble, and I started working in as an accountant. Like, long story short, I miss a little bit out in the middle there, which is, you know, kind of relevant to my story, but
Yeah. It's up to you what you want to tell, man. Yeah, and I appreciate that.
So I went into, my cousin worked in accounts, and, you know, my parents sat me down and, you know, loved them to bits. They've been supportive my whole life. Used to take me, you know, football and swimming and boxing, and everything I wanted to do, they were there to support that. So they kind of sat me down and said, what's next? What are you going to do? The football dream's over. What next? And I was like, I didn't know. And when I was in school, I used to like maths. I was good at numbers, and like I say, always like trying to look little money making ideas. So they said, well, your cousin's an accountant. Why don't you train to be an accountant? And I thought, yeah, loads of money, being an accountant suits me down to the ground. I'd done it for 3 years. Was training, like went to college in the evenings and then was working during the day, and it just was not for me at all. I absolutely hated it. I didn't mind the actual work, but just being a 9 to 5 behind a computer screen was just not for me. So I started to then think about what else I wanted to do. And I used to do football coaching and stuff. I didn't really want to do coaching, but I wanted to help young people that had been in. I used to look back and I used to think I had all that potential when I was younger. Now I'm just sitting here doing, you know, no disrespect to anyone else in that role, but doing what so many other people can do. Like, I had that little bit of an X factor and I didn't really use it.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea of Directional, and got someone who actually was working for Microsoft at the time to create the logo. And the idea was to get young boys that had come out of an academy back into an academy. So put them on the right direction to an academy. Because when I was in year 11 at school, when I was 15, 16, I was at Aston Villa. So I used to go to Villa 3 times a week and play. And then when I didn't get a contract with them, it was like, okay, what do I do next? And I didn't really have anything to push me into the next club. So that's what Directional was meant to be. And then when I sat down with somebody and spoke to them about the idea, they didn't really get it. And they was like, it's just not enough. Like, it's okay as an idea, as a business idea, it's not really enough. So then I went back and thought, what else did I kind of need growing up? And where I wasn't a really bad kid in school, I was pretty good in school, to be honest. But so many of my friends that also had that X factor, so much potential to do something, ended up doing the wrong things. And, you know, I've got friends that have been to jail. I've got friends that I saw someone a few years back and he was homeless. And I've got friends that, you know, done drugs and drink and whatever. But then I've also got friends that have gone on to play professional football, gone on to be on TV acting, running their own businesses, working high up in, you know, good companies. So it was like, so many of us could have done this, so many more ended up doing this side, the bad side, but could have done that. So can I start something to direct young people onto the right side? So the logo is still kind of, from the football idea, it still kind of sat well with this new idea. And it was all about behavior. So I started off doing one-to-one mentoring in a school. Kind of went to them with one A4 piece of paper and said, this is what I can deliver. This is how I can help your students. And the lady there, Lynn Crawley, who worked at Stockwell Park Academy at the time, liked it. She was like, yep, we can give you some young people to work with. Started working with them. And then it just opened my eyes to a whole new world of, you know, this was 2013, like 10 years ago now. It opened my eyes to things I didn't even know that were going on in schools, what the generation at that time was. So started doing group work, started doing all sorts. And then it just kept expanding and growing. And every time I saw this group of young people need this, because every young person is different and every young person needs something different to help and support them. So when I was seeing new things that are new ways that I could help young people, I was like, I can't do it all myself. So then, you know, one person would come on board, then another, make contacts, get funding, and it just expanded into what it is now. And I was just thinking 10 years time, how much of a beast it could be.
That's an interesting thought. That's an interesting. I like that you think in that way and so positively as well. Because you're the path that you're on, you're changing lives, man. And do you know what? The people that want, here's the good thing about organizations like yourself, is that when you do this kind of good, the people that you've helped tend to want to then help you once they get better. And once that happens, that allows you to grow more. And it's just like, for everyone that you've helped so far and the people that you're helping now, I can't wait. It's like, there's a guy who in Luton, a guy called Sufyan. Do you know him? The Chiltern Learning Trust.
Oh yes,
yeah. So there's like this whole generation of kids that have been taught by Sufyan that are in Luton, and they are just all dynamos, all of them. Like it's crazy. I'm friends with a lot of them, and I've had some on my podcast, and all of them say that time in school with him was like crucial to why I became like how I became.
Yeah, and it's sometimes we forget, when, like you were saying that you got to the point where it's like, what am I actually doing here? And I have times like still now, but it doesn't really last that long anymore. But maybe a couple of years ago, 18 months ago, whatever, I had a bad day where the boys that we had were just like really ungrateful, and they were just misbehaving like to an extent where they hadn't before. And a few things had gone on to obviously get me into a position to vent publicly, which I never do. But I put a little status up, and then one of the boys I'd worked with, 4 or 5 years before, he sent me a message on Facebook and was like, "Look, I'm a bricklayer now. I've got my own mortgage, missus. If it wasn't for you, what you done with me 5 years ago, I would not be in this position. Like, you saved my life." And I took Jordan Reynolds to that group, and he had met Jordan Reynolds, and like meeting Jordan Reynolds, he sent me a picture of me, him and Jordan. And yeah, it's just knowing that like Jordan's another guy that's so good. He wants to give back so much to the community, and he's come to do a few things with our kids. And so many of them say like, just meeting him, like, it's just made me think totally different, because he's from the same place. When you run a business, young people don't really see that thing, because you're not really in the limelight with anything. Okay, I've been on the news a couple of times, but you're not really in like the spotlight. Whereas someone like Jordan Reynolds or Keshi Anderson, them two growing up with best friends, one's gone on to be a professional boxer, one's a professional footballer playing in the championship. Like, when you bring those type of people to the kids and say, look, they grew up here, they went to this school,
look at what's possible.
At them now. Yeah, and it just makes
that's a really good way of thinking about it, like bringing people like that in, because that's what I think is a good kind of springboard for inspiration, right? Is that it's hard for kids to dream, really is, when you come from a place that keeps getting called the worst place to live, and if you go anywhere outside of it, people mock you for coming from there. And, it's kind of like you're being force-fed this narrative your whole life that you're just not going to achieve anything. And when you see someone who is of greatness that comes from where you are, or looks like you, or just sounds like you, or just anything that then you can like put yourself into that person and go, that could be me. You know what I mean? That feeling just makes you 10 feet taller. Do you know what I mean? You can do anything, and it's like it's a really powerful thing to do. So yeah, man, it's amazing that you're able to do that for them.
To be honest, I think that's why Directional got so big. Like, I'm gonna say very quickly, but maybe I was doing what I was doing in the first few years. But as soon as I started bringing in people that were at a certain level, like I said, my friend Aaron Fontaine is an actor, so he was on Hollyoaks at the time, maybe 3-4 years ago. And when he came around, and we say, they might not watch Hollyoaks, but they know their mum does, or their older sister does. And when you can see him in a trailer on Hollyoaks, it's like, well, you came from Lucy Farm, and you're on TV. Those people are not even real to you. Do you know what I mean? And now you're sitting with one that was on it. And I brought my friend that he lives over in America now, Aaron Stewart, and he's got his own business. And all right, he was talking all this business techie stuff. But when he said, like, my company's worth 150 million, they're like, what? And you used to hang around Marsh Farm, and you was from Ipswich. Like, how does that add up? And when you start bringing people like this, and the young people's mentality changes, I think adults and teachers recognize that. And that's why Directional, fair play to all those guys that all came back and wanted to give back. I didn't pay them anything. It was all their time.
No, that's really big for them to decide to come and help as well. That just shows the caliber of the people that come from Luton as well. It's not just that, we've got this specialness to us, because I genuinely believe, and it's not just Luton either. It's like, it's places where they're just constantly being pushed down. Yeah, like whether that's by the government or whether that's just by hard times or by themselves. Maybe they're doing it to themselves, but or if it's a combination of all that. But places like that create incredibly strong, resilient people, and people with a mad drive as well. So that is one part of it, but then the other part of it is that for some reason they feel charitable and kind and giving, especially with their time. So yeah, that's big, man. You have to be as well if you want to do things for people. Like you say, you get many moments when you question whether you're doing the right thing or if you're the right person or whatever. But like by having that drive, it kind of quietens that voice down a little bit. You know what I mean? Just makes you want to work harder to do better.
Definitely,
if anything, that's definitely a Luton thing. I think that's a Luton thing.
It is, and like it's that kind of that herd mentality, then, isn't it? Where everyone then comes together and says, "No, we can do better than this." And like I say, when people do make it into a positive, when they're doing something positive, they want to say to other people that it can be done. And there's, like I say, there's so many in Luton.
Yeah. So what about your other thing that you set up now, Hall's Home? It's Hall's Homes, yeah?
Yeah.
So tell me, what is that exactly?
So Hall's Homes for Young People is a children's home. So it is what it says, really. So we can have a maximum of 3 young people at a time. And it's their home. So there would be young people that are in care. So they would have been through foster care. A lot of them have been through multiple foster placements, and then it doesn't work out. So they end up in a children's home where there's staff 24/7. It's tough. It's seeing those young people, the young people at Directional, like all young people have been through something, but the ones in the children's home, they're the ones that have, seen the most. They've witnessed the most and have the most trauma and, like say, PTSD and things like that. They really struggle with their emotions and how to deal with things. They've been let down a lot by people and by adults. It kind of came about because I was working with some young people at the time in Directional, and I was like, I do so much with these young people and they make so many changes. They go home and everything just gets undone again. So I was like, how do I affect young people away from this as well, away from Directional? And like you said, you want to help everyone. You can't help everyone. And a lot of the kids at Directional have good parents and they're fine at home. But there's young people out there that don't have that. So that's where the children's home came about. My sister manages it. It's a tough job, but it's something that we want to do as a family. So all 5 of us, me, my mum and dad, and 2 sisters are part of it. So yeah, something that we want to do to give back as well.
Yes, it's amazing that you're able to stretch yourself to this as well. I mean, I'm just trying to count all the jobs you've just told me that you have. I think I've lost track. I've lost track, because you've told me a lot. Bro, you're a busy guy. You're a busy guy. Yeah. Like it's mad that you're doing all of this stuff, and yeah, that idea. I mean, like, I just wish when I was little that I had someone like you around, because it was, like I'm just one, but there's loads of people who grew up in a similar situation to me where you're in an abusive household, and you don't really, like, I used to go to youth clubs and I used to see like people who I would admire who would run them services that were like, you pay to get into the youth club, but it's a pittance, man. Do you know what I mean? That person's not making money to do it. They're doing it because they're providing the space for the kids. And without stuff like that, when I was growing up, I wouldn't really have had anywhere. I would just have been stuck in this house and not being able to get away from it. But luckily I had friends and stuff, so I could go around the houses. But if I would have had something like your organisations, or one of them around when I was in school, it would have helped me massively. And I know a lot of friends that would have helped as well. So yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how much it's needed, what you're doing.
It is needed, and I wouldn't have started them. They've started because I've seen the need first. It's not like I've come up with an idea and said, I wonder if we need this. It's like I've seen the need, started the business to kind of try and help that need. But you're kind of stuck in 2 minds, really, when, as me, I've got to obviously look after the finances of Directional. And like I say, the employees need to get paid, right? So you need to think about it as a business model. So it's good when you're busy. Like any business is good when you're busy. But then at the moment, in both provisions, we're pretty much at full capacity. So I've had to turn young people away. So it gets to a point where it's like, not turn young people away, but teachers will say, or schools will contact me and say, have you got space for a year 8 student? I'm like, we literally have no space. So as a business, it's good that you're busy, but then you're like, why are so many young people struggling?
Yeah, that's a deep question. That's a deep question. Why? Why do you think?
I think we're seeing the aftermath of COVID now, like I mentioned a couple of times, with young people's mental health. I think we're definitely seeing that. I think services that are out there are stretched. So CAMs and people like this are stretched. Like, you know, kids go on an 80-week waiting list. Like that doesn't even make sense to me. Like an 80-week waiting list. So someone's identified this young person needs help, and they can get it in 80 weeks.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
But that's what these organisations are saying. And, you know, again, I don't blame them. They're stretched. I then say in schools, like when I first started working in schools, I used to not dislike teachers as a whole, because I've never like judged one person on their job title, but say it's teachers' fault why, you know, these young people, they don't have enough time for young people, blah, blah, blah. But now over the last few years, I've realised that they're also too stretched.
Yeah.
So they're working, I think personally, the education system is totally broken.
Yep.
And I don't think we can blame, you know, I wouldn't sit there, and if we're sitting over, you know, a Luton councillor, I wouldn't blame them. It comes from the absolute very top in government that has to change it. Whether they've got the, you know, the capacity, whether they've got the will to change it, I don't know. I'd probably say unlikely. They're probably just happy with how things are going. But for me, it doesn't make sense to have 30 kids in a classroom with one teacher.
Oh, no way, no way.
How does...
Do you know what? I'll just say on that, like with, so when I was coaching before, if I had any more than 7, roughly about 7 or 8 in a group, it was chaos. Yeah, like they're all little girls, 10 years old. Just like that. It's any more than 7 or 8. If I've got 7, 8 push, all of them listen. All of them listen, and they want to learn. They want to be engaged. But when you've got too many, it's like they become like a crowd, like they're rabbling, and you've got no control whatsoever. You know, try and get a group of 30 girls to run around this pitch. It's not going to happen.
And that's doing something they love. So imagine a teacher working in school, and I'm guessing was that younger kids? What age were they?
What, the ones I was coaching, they're roughly about 10, 9 or 10.
So imagine you've got teenagers now that are getting that teenage attitude.
Yeah.
They're going into lessons where they don't want to learn that subject because they don't understand why they need to learn about that subject. And you're trying to get 30 of them, sometimes more, to concentrate. If you're lucky, you'll have a TA with you. To work with maybe one young person that's been identified to have ADHD or something like that. What about the others? How does that actually... It doesn't make any sense. No, and I don't blame the teachers, because teachers, they're there to, you know, teach what they need to teach. If a young person is misbehaving and distracting the other 28, 29, 31 in the class, you have to get them out. I get it. They have to teach everyone else that wants to learn. But then that kid walking up and down the corridors, what does he or she then do?
Them either, no.
Then, you know, and it just escalates into a position where they're with us. And, you know, we will, when we deliver projects in schools, so I have 2 outreach workers that go into schools still now, and they will work with a maximum of 12 in a group. And when teachers, you know, when I was working in schools before, will come in and see us with a group of the naughtiest kids in year 8 or 9 or whatever year it is, sitting there doing their work and engaging in things, they're like, how have you done this? Or they'll come and visit here and they'll be like, how is so-and-so sitting there in the because it's just a different environment. We are different with them. We don't have the stresses of, we've got to then mark all their work, and we've got to do this and we've got to do that with 30 kids, and, you know, we've got to hit these standards and deliver this criteria. We deliver what we think is needed. We get to know the group personally. And it's just a total different environment to what they have to deal with in a school where there's 30 kids, and then they're going out, you know, walking the corridors, and they're bumping into their mates, blah, blah, blah. And then they get into a lesson, and then they straight away got to switch on again. Then they're going out, they're mixing with their mates. It's high, up, down, up, down, up. It's no sort of environment. I think the school system is definitely failing. It's definitely broken. So the reason we've got so many young people out is because of that, because so many of them now don't fit into the system that was created decades and decades ago, because they've changed.
Because essentially it was created to create employees, right? That's essentially what it was done for, to create employees that you could get into, like, kind of the jobs that were seen as the jobs that benefit Britain. And the same with any country in the world. Whatever they teach their kids, it's prep for workers, you know, when they leave school. But we live in a time now where so many people just go off and make their own thing. Do you know what I mean? Where, like, you can be interested in something really obscure, yeah, that nobody else cares about, and then you can make it your whole thing. Like, I watched this girl on Instagram who's like a bee like lady. she gets rid of bees from people's houses, but she fucking loves it.
That's what she loves doing.
Bro, and you see how excited she gets about bees.
But
yeah,
people need that, right?
people need it, but she just was like, she was working a regular job, and then one day she was like, right, I'm going to go and be a beekeeper.
Right.
Then yeah, like she's happy, and this is the thing, like, at school, if I would have dared open my mouth and say, I want to be a beekeeper, yeah, my mates would have had me first, yeah. But then the teacher would have told me I was an idiot and that I've got no future if I'm thinking like that. You know what I mean?
That's like with a lot of jobs. Like, I said something before and a few people disagreed with it about school uniform, the kids in school uniform. And I think I think they should wear a uniform, but I should be like maybe a polo t-shirt and a school jumper. Represent the school, you're all part of one team, great. This whole stuff about like a shirt, tie done up to the top, blazer. Yeah. What kid grows up wanting now a job looking like that? You might have, before, where you want to be a lawyer or accountant, which is still unbelievable jobs. But how many kids actually grow up thinking that they want to be? If they get to a point where they then want to do that and want to be that, they can learn how to dress in the appropriate way in those jobs. And even the big tech jobs, right? Big, working at Google or Facebook, unbelievable job. They don't go in suit and tie.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
How many jobs actually have these days when people are there shirt and tie? It's just
not many. It's not many anymore.
And the thing is, right? It's not a problem that there is jobs like that and whatever. That's great. It's needed and whatever. Kids need to know how to dress smart.
Yeah.
But why are you going to put so many young people under that pressure? They can't find their tie in the morning. Just adding to what's going on at home already. Yeah. Causing parents, their blazers ripped. Because I remember when I went in Cardiff Newman, we had blazers from, I don't think every school had them then. The blazers used to rip. You're playing football in the playground. Of course things are going to... And then parents have to pay more money out for these blazers rather than just a little t-shirt.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true, man. Like, when I have to do the school uniform purchase at the beginning of the year, of the school year, it's a nightmare, mate. Because like I've got, there's I've got 3 girls that we live with, and then I've got my son that is elsewhere with my ex. But like when we do it for the 3 girls, it's mad how much it costs. Like, trying to remember, the blazer was like 90 quid, I think. I think it was like something crazy like that. And do you know what? Like, we can't afford it.
Yeah,
can't afford it really. But what choice you have? You can't. You're not going to be able to send them to school. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They have to have the uniform. That's a requirement. So, it's like I really don't like that. Like how it's kind of just a forced requirement. Also, what I'm getting my back up about a little bit at the moment, but some of the schools I'm hearing about, like, so this is a good thing in a way, but it's also a bad thing as well to some people. The schools offer like to go away places a lot, but they give the parents like bloody like 2 weeks notice at sometimes for a trip that's going to cost like upwards of £150. And there's parents who are in this position where they've not quite on low enough wage where they can apply for the benefits sort of support and everything like that. But then they're not on a high enough wage where that's an easy thing to pay out. Yeah. And that really stuffs up, like, our family, this happens a lot. A lot of us, it's just dumped on us, you know what I mean? And do you know what? Most of the time, if a payment like is dumped on you, you go, do you know what? I'm just not I'm not doing that now. I'll do that when I've got it. Yeah. But when it's your kid, you're like, I've got to do it. Yeah. I've got to do it. Now I'm just going to have to squeeze everything else. Like,
and it just puts more pressure on, adults, relationships. And then that's why things don't work out with adults and relationships and stuff, because finances. And, it starts with, it's just an extra thing that's not, like, I remember my school used to go on a skiing trip every year. And every year I had to pretend that I didn't want to go to my friends. So I knew my mum and dad couldn't afford to send me.
Yeah.
So that's then I'm taking that maybe pressure off them. I was like, no, I don't want to go skiing. Would have loved to have gone skiing.
Yeah, exactly.
I love every sport when I was young. Why would I not love to do skiing? But then as a kid, then you're taking that and you understand that kind of responsibility and the limitations that you have from a young age. Some people don't let it affect them, like obviously I haven't, but some people do. And some people get so caught up and just believe that's their path now. My parents can afford it when when I was young, so I'm not going to be able to afford it when I'm older. I'll just go and do whatever job kind of pays the bills at this time and have nothing left over.
It's like a block, isn't it? It's like basically, because you develop that mentality at a young age, it's like that follows you around forever after. And it takes a lot to break that cycle, to go, do you know what? I deserve more than this. You know what I mean? And it's sad that we live in a time when there's places that are calling us the worst place to live, and they're adding to that pressure. That really upsets. That's one of the biggest things that's upsetting me at the moment, because of how it affects the kids. Because I don't know about you, but when I was in school and people would say that, I used to kind of find it funny. You know, like when I first heard about these polls calling us the worst place to live, it was kind of like it was a bit of a joke. Like, yeah, I guess it is, and you join in with it a bit, and then you know what? You don't realise the damage that you're doing to yourself by like agreeing with them sort of statements. And like, schools could do better as well to help with that, with people kind of seeing the success of other people that have been to the schools. And for instance, like how you're saying about some of your friends, because it would be cool to have that, like, you know, if you're at school and then they bring someone in who's come to that school, do a sort of similar thing to what you do. Yeah,
definitely. Because you start living up to the narrative, don't you? And that's just human nature. If someone says, you know, that you're one thing for long enough, you end up start believing it. And it's most of the time it's subconscious, which is even more dangerous. So you just believe that you're in the worst place in the country, and that's how it's going to be. Like I said, I've lived in Luton my whole life. I loved growing up in Luton. And it might be when I explain like the stories when I was younger to people from outside, they might not get it. But I think young people today don't get it. Like when you drive around Luton now, you don't really see kids out playing as much as we used to. Like I used to go, my whole summer was spent down Lucy Farm, down the park.
It would be rammed football, everywhere.
Basketball, you know, people that are not playing the sports are chilling over there. And it's just, there's just a vibe. There's just, it's so cool.
Kids don't go out as much. Around where I live in Luton, like I see kids out, like on my road, I see kids out playing still. So it's like, oh, thank God it's not dead. Do you know what I mean?
It's still happening.
It's still happening. Like I saw someone playing Kirby the other day. I was like, yes,
bring it back.
100%, man, 100%. I'm surprised that someone hasn't turned that into like an official sport. You know what I mean? It's like it could be a sport, man. Bro, I used to love playing Kirby. Me and my friend would literally play it for hours. And you know, like when you go out, and you just be like, right, who can I knock for? Who can I knock for? All right, go knock on so-and-so's house. Go knock on their house. Nah, I'm not coming out. Oh, okay, cool. Go knock. You knock on a few people's house. One person comes out, and it's you and a ball, and that's it. There's nothing to do.
Or you'd be riding your bike to one friend's house and see a group of bikes outside someone else's house.
That's where everyone is.
So you roll up in there. Like that doesn't happen now. I know with social media and phones and that, it's different, but
I miss it, man. I miss it so much. And I wish that my kids could have it. My daughter goes out to play football. She's like 11-ish. Is she 11 now? Yeah, she's 11. That's bad. I should have remembered. I'm on camera. I'm sorry. But she goes out down the park with her mates. You know, she goes plays football and stuff with them. So it's working for one. The eldest one doesn't like to go out anywhere. Anywhere. She likes her room, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? But
which happens in it, teenagers and whatever. And I understand why some parents don't let their kids out. Like we have, you know, students I work with, and I say, "Oh, did you go out the weekend? Oh, why didn't you go?" Mum won't let me out, and I get that as well, depending on where you live in the town. But I wish it was still some. You know, things do change and things progress, but I wish it was still that little bit of what we used to have.
Yeah, more fun. Still here, more fun, man. But you know, I don't know. Was that like kind of? I mean, as well as it being really fun, I remember there being some pretty dangerous, bad times, like where I'd be at a party or something and things would kick off and people bring out tools and stuff, and it could get really, really nasty really quickly. So, you know, it's like you lose that maybe, and then they have to stay in. I don't know, like if what I'd kind of want, you know what I mean?
You just get to an age where you just have to be a little bit more mindful about where you go. Right? So when I was 15, I was caught up in something that was, you know, it was quite serious in the town. It was quite a known thing that happened, and someone ended up dying out of it. So the worst case scenario. And it was like I was there at the moment, and then some older boys from Lucy came and got involved in some bits, and you know, escalated into that. So I got to a point where I was like, okay, I really need to start thinking about where I'm going now, because it's not a game. Like, things you hear about, you know, it's real. So yeah, that's when you start getting to 15, 16, 17, you have to start thinking about where you're going a lot more.
Yeah, well, man, I'm glad that you did, and I'm glad that you've done what you're doing with Directional, with Halls Homes, and I'm excited to see what you've got coming as well, man. I'm sure you've got some big things coming in the future, because you're a guy that can't. Yeah, I was going to say, I knew that you would have something. Is there anything you want to talk about, or?
Yeah, this year we've got loads going on. So this is our 10th year. So we're raising money for Keach and for Luton Food Bank this year.
Yeah.
There are two chosen charities.
And I love both of them big charities, man. I'm raising for Keach literally from tomorrow. Wicked, doing stuff. So yeah.
So we have got loads of events. So in April, I think it's April 16th, we've got a culture day here down at Barton. So the guys that are organising it have got loads of like food stalls, getting our inflatables out, having like entertainment, like different cultural entertainment and stuff. We've got a quiz night in June. We've got a showcase for young people in July. Then I've got a football game here, charity football game. So getting a few of the pros back and a few, you know, semi-pro legends around these ways are coming to play, and it'll be a mix of like kids, current players and ex-players, which will be fun. That's on the 19th of May. That's a Friday night. That'll be really cool. And then we've got our birthday party in October, which is a celebration just to say thank you to everyone that's kind of helped on the journey, because, you know, me by myself couldn't have done it by myself. My team, we couldn't have done it by ourselves. So yeah, it's just a little thank you to everyone that's been along the journey, supported. Because as you know, you need people to support you. Even just sharing a post or liking a post.
Yeah, exactly. All helps, man. Yeah, all helps. Yeah, that's the thing. Do you know what? Sometimes I think people forget that, you know, like that just because like you're doing well, yeah, but still it's not like help me out, man. Do you know what I mean? Share my stuff and show people the good that I'm doing. Hopefully, like it will inspire more to do good, right? So yeah, definitely I'll be sharing as much as I can, and man, let me know about some of them and maybe I can come as well.
Yeah,
it'd be good. It'd be good. I like, mate, anything that's raising money, and you just named two of my favourite charities as well. So
we're on the same page.
I'd be more than happy to help you with anything. But yeah, I mean, Jermaine, can you give people a little direction to Directional? Do you know what I did there? That was no, I'm sorry, I was terrible.
Wordplay.
That was terrible. It was terrible. I'm so bad. No, if you could let people know your socials and stuff like that.
Yep. So Instagram is Directional CIC. Same with Twitter, Directional CIC. And Facebook page, Directional CIC.
That's it. It's nice and easy. And you can get you guys online on, you've got two websites, right? Is it two? Because of Directional and Halls?
Yeah, we've got a Halls Homes website and a Directional one. Is it bad? I don't know Halls Homes off the top of my head. I think it's halls/homes.co.uk, and Directional, that's CIC.com.
You should really know this for a fact.
Definitely know them. Directional I know, because this is my everyday.
Because it's been there for a long time. Yeah. No, mate, it's been wicked, man. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Maybe we can do this again down the line.
Definitely.
All right, wicked. Love you, Luton. All right, that's cool, man. Thank you very much, Jermaine.
Lovely, and the weather